and your day is filled with joy. I just know it. If you're joining us virtually on Zoom, online, or watching us later in the social media, we're glad you're here. We also welcome you for those that come and share your presence with us in the sanctuary. Welcome. And we have today Martin Taylor. He's our prayer chaplain, and I forgot to tell you who I am. I'm Suzanne Lamb, your platform assistant today. And Reverend Kurt Condra today will share with us his series called Dare to Believe. The Light Seekers are one. So we'll be anxious to hear what he's sharing with us. And today, our musicians are Nancy Erickson. Hi, Nancy. And a new pianist, Danny Bauer. And I have not met him. I was not here last week. So he told me a little bit about himself, a young fellow, but he has lots of experiences. And he came to us from Columbus, Ohio, and he was the pianist for them for the Unity Church of Columbus for 3 years. And then he moved to Chicago. And I asked him why he moved here. And he said because his sister's roommate was supposed to share with his sister's flat, and she backed out. So here he is. And he and I feel that when God tells us it's time to make a decision, to make a move, and here he is. And so we're very lucky to have him. Thank you, Danny. And let's open with the opening prayer. If you could close your eyes, take a deep breath, and pray. Holy Presence, we know that in God we can never be separate from love, from truth, from infinite intelligence, and the source of all good. We gather here in this sacred time to open our hearts and our minds to the one power and one presence. We gratefully receive the energies of divine light and love pouring in and through us. And we affirm that we are here today, this morning, for a divine purpose. We trust that purpose is now being fulfilled, for we know we are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. And now Nancy and Danny will lead us into the opening song.
Good morning. I gladly walk across the desert with no shoes upon my feet, to share with you the last bite of bread I've got to eat. I would swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams. When all your hopes are sinking, let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge, don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? I would whisper love so loudly every heart could understand that love and only love can join the tribes of man. I would give my heart's desire so that you might see. The first step is to realize it all begins with you and me. Love, love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time now? Don't you think it's time? Oh, now when we stand together, it's our finest hour. We can do anything, anything. Keep believing in the power of love. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Love, oh love, love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? Oh yeah.
Wow, thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Danny. Your jazz talent came through. Thank you so much. And here I would like to welcome you all again to Unity on the North Shore Sunday service. And Unity is a positive, practical approach for spiritual living based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. We believe in the truth and beauty in every spiritual tradition and honor the many paths to the one God. So wherever you are on the journey of faith, you're always welcome here. And our purpose of Unity on the North Shore is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. And we do that by living the Unity principles of inclusivity and sharing creative spiritual experiences like what we had experienced with Sean Johnson a couple of weeks ago when he had the mantra meditation and the music. And we also share innovative possibilities to one God and collaborating with other organizations or with other individuals or other people in your life to create a community that you can identify with and for your own personal growth. So if this is your first Sunday with us, we extend a very warm, loving welcome to all of you, especially the ones in the sanctuary, and to all of you joining us online as well. And many of us, when we found out about Unity, like when I came back from China in 1997 after working there for 5 years. And I was looking for a church home, and I found Unity, and I felt like coming home. And so I'm sure many of you experienced the same kind of experiences when you found us here, and you felt that we all share the same belief, and we are here. So we hope that your experience this morning is powerful and that you will come back and see us. And if you are in the sanctuary and if you are new with us, please complete a guest card at the back of the sanctuary so we can welcome you even more. So now Nancy and Danny again will lead us in this morning's group song.
Everyone could rise. I know the lyrics are up on the screen. Sing out, sing proud. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. Just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. Just where I'm supposed to be. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
So thank you, Nancy and Denny. Good morning. My name is Martin Taylor, and I'm serving as your prayer chaplain this morning. And in view of the day, we're going to do this a little differently. The daily word is Mother's Day themed, and I'm going to incorporate that into our prayer. So let's begin by taking a couple of deep breaths. Breathe in. Breathing in, knowing that God's grace is flowing into us as we breathe in His air. Breathe out, allowing our attention to fall into our heart space, holding sacred space. Thank you, Blessed Spirit, for meeting us here. And now, let us spend a few moments in silence in prayer for yourself, for your loved ones, and of course, for your mother. The word mother brings to mind love, gentleness, nurturing, and compassion. Even if we did not experience those qualities from the women who gave us life, we give thanks for them in everyone who has inspired us and touched our lives. To our mothers and everyone who has blessed us with a mother's care, we send you love. We say a prayer of thanks for your presence in our lives, for the sacrifices you made to give us the opportunity to grow and learn. You taught us the power of love and gentleness and the strength found in giving. You taught us above all to be true to ourselves. You are a leader who has taught us to lead by example. We send you thoughts of infinite love and peace as we join with each other in gratitude and joy today. And also let us hold in prayer all who are suffering and affirm the presence of God's love, grace, and guidance in every person, in every human condition, and so let it be. Amen. So now I invite you to request a prayer. If you are watching us online, a link will be entered into the chat box for our prayer team, and you can also write a prayer in the chat itself. If you're here in the sanctuary, there are prayer requests in the back of the seats that you can put into the prayer box as you leave. And also, if you require a personal prayer, I will be at the candle at the back of the sanctuary after the service. So, now let's return to Nancy and Denny for more music.
We believe in things we cannot see. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Hands that heal can set a chained man free. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? And we believe in peace in every heart. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Burning brightly, brightly in the dark. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? So come on, darling, feel your spirits rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is on the round, Buddha's at the gate. Allah hears your prayers, it's not too late. We believe in things that will give us hope. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Let your voice be heard. Celebrate your vote. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? We believe in things that make us all the same. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Love belongs to all in deed and name. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Come on, darling, let your spirits rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is all around, Buddha's at the gate. Allah hears your prayers, it's not too late. We believe in things that can't be done. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Lift up your heart, put down that gun. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? So come on, darling, let your spirits rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is all around, Buddha's at the gate. Allah hears your prayers, it's not too late. We believe in things that we cannot change. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? We had heroes once, we will again. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? So come on, darling, feel your spirits rise. Come on, children, open up your eyes. God is all around, Buddha's at the gate. Allah hears your prayers, it's not too late. Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we believe? Why shouldn't we? Oh, why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we?
Absolutely. Why shouldn't we dare to believe in things that maybe aren't as we would like them? Oh my goodness. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Nancy. Really beautiful. So the series that I'm in the midst of is called Dare to Believe, and it's based on a book by one of the earliest directors of Silent Unity. She served for more than 60 years. Her name was May Rowland. And I just think it's beautiful that we're bringing sort of the consciousness of May Rowland into a Mother's Day kind of expression, especially with all that's happening around what we see about women's power that's happening sort of in this country in particular, and what we know to be true about the divine feminine as it expresses more broadly. We can dare to believe in an outcome that might not be evident at this point right now, so that truly the world can be changed in ways that will benefit us all. So I want to do something a little bit different this morning. I'm gonna share from my own sort of spiritual journey, my own sort of evolution in consciousness for a bit. And often what I find when I do that, my intention is that it is a jumping off point for you to reflect on your own experience and your own journey. So that's what, as I move forward in this, that's the piece that I'm really going to invite you into. Like, think about what your own path has been. Think about what your own beliefs have been, how those were shaped, and then think about, begin to imagine, dare to believe what the next evolution in your own consciousness might be. That's sort of the roadmap that I'm setting out for us this morning. And I want to start just with an affirmation or a reminder, and I think for most of us in Unity we already recognize this, but that our concept of God, the way that we relate to God, the way that sort of we embody spiritual principles evolves. It has since the day we were born, and it will continue to evolve until the day we die, because our experience is changing all the time. And so the way in which we can sort of access that divine power that we know is within us all, that shifts and changes and morphs depending on the situation. And it's going to be different for every one of us depending on the situation and depending on our life experience. I love Father Richard Rohr, who I spoke a little bit about last week, as I think articulated this beautifully a few months back in his newsletter. I'm just doing a plug for that newsletter. If you don't already receive it, sign up for Richard Rohr's daily inspirational newsletter. It's wonderful. So Father Richard, he sort of speaks to this idea that there is an evolving consciousness that happens within each and every one of us. And he also invites us into recognizing sort of the underpinnings of that, the starting point for us in that journey. And he also invites us to recognize that starting point may have been a jumping off point, but the way in which we first conceived of God, our very earliest experiences, are probably still part of the lens and the filter through which we see and embody God, right? And that I found that to be kind of revolutionary, because in my mind, it's like, yep, I believed in, God almost like Santa Claus up on a cloud, a white guy with a beard when I was a little kid, but I've long since transcended that, right? My belief is very different than that. But in his teaching, in his writing, what I'm beginning to recognize is that the framework that I initially sort of embodied still shapes the way that I connect with God now. Let me read just a short excerpt. And this is the part where I want you to start thinking about your own belief and your own journey. We have to break through our ideas about God to find out who God really is. Our early and spontaneous images of God are typically a mixture of our experiences with our own mothers and fathers. He knows this from years and years of work in counseling work, especially he did a lot of work in his younger days with men, sort of engaging sort of that divine hero's journey kind of work. He's worked with prisoners, and what he finds over and over and over again is that the concept of God that many of us even still hold really has its underpinnings in our relationships with fathers and mothers early on. He continues, if our mother was harshly critical, so is our God. If our father was domineering or authoritative, likewise our God. It's almost tragic to witness how many people are afraid of God, experience God as cold and absent, and even have a sense of God as someone who might hurt and betray them. These ideas about God reveal far more about the state of our parent symbols than they do about our Trinitarian God. So many of us have sort of been through some kind of healing or whatever has happened around our relationships with fathers and mothers. But as I sat with that a little bit, I started to recognize, all right, so how does my relationship with my parents, what bearing does that have on my relationship with God now and how I connect and the image that I hold of God? And so I went back to, and this is where I want you to think back about your relationship with your parents. And I want you to be flawlessly honest about it. You know, sometimes when we start to think back and reminisce, we either what do I call it? What do I want to say? We either candy coat it a little bit, so it's all good. It was all this wonderful, lovely childhood, that might have been a dominant energy in your childhood, but certainly all of us has been through struggle as part of that too, and our parents weren't perfect. They weren't all embodied Christ at that point too, so their perceptions have shaped our own. So be really scrupulously honest about your upbringing. And similarly, the other side of it, some of us tend to, when we think about our childhood, if we've still got some victim-y energy around that, we think how awful it was and we catastrophize it. So take both of those poles and see if you can't come to more of a middle objective ground perspective of what it was like in your family when you grew up, your relationship with your mother and your father. So in my parents were incredibly supportive through most of my life, all to the degree that they were able. Even to the point when I came out to them as gay when I was 20, they may have wished for something different for me, more because they were worried about the struggle that I might experience or the hardships or prejudice that I might experience, but they were supportive. You know, I know a lot of gay people who are gay when they came out to their parents, that wasn't their experience at all. That my parents were supportive. I knew that they were there no matter what. My parents also divorced when I was very young. They split a couple of times and divorced, so there was a sense of kind of uncertainty around that. And I think as a result, I grew up pretty autonomous. I would go off and do a lot of stuff on my own without necessarily my parents' awareness, or Dad was off in California, so very removed, and Mom was busy raising kids, so she wasn't always accessible and available, so I grew up fairly autonomous. I didn't tell them about stuff. And as I look at how that sort of relates to my experience of God right now, it's kind of the same. I see God as like almost a cheerleader, supportive. There's an energy there, a consciousness that will support me. I don't necessarily think of it as embodiment, a person all the time, but maybe sort of the universe speaks to me, and I know that there's a benevolence to the universe, or that's sort of a core belief of mine in the background that I know is always supporting me. And there's also stuff in my life that I go along with, and it's like, God, you don't need to concern yourself with this. I got this. I don't really need to, you know what I'm saying? There are places that I haven't really fully integrated that I am one with God in every moment, and I'm off doing my own thing. That's generally when I get in trouble. It's generally when ego sort of takes over, but that's a dynamic in my relationship with God that continues to emerge and express itself. So as you think back scrupulously, honestly about your relationship with your parents as you were growing up, how does that inform how you view God and your connection with God now? Are there places where maybe there could be a deeper sense of connection as you start to reimagine what your next evolution in consciousness might be around that? See, because here's the thing, I think especially in unity, most of us are already aware of that change. You know, the God that we conceived of as a child doesn't really serve us as we grow up through adulthood. And so most of us have come from very different religions in the background. And so there's been this shift and this change all along. But I think there is a tendency, especially if we've found some sort of belief or actions or practices that really work for us, there's a tendency to sort of hang out there. And yet I think Spirit is calling us always to a deeper awareness, a deeper outpicturing, a deeper embodiment of God. And so rather than sort of rest there, begin to look, think, and imagine where might I be able to grow a deeper consciousness of God. When I was in Dallas, I had a friend who, he was also a young gay man, gay child, growing up in rural Texas. So very Southern Baptist, and as he grew up, his concept of God, at first he sort of eschewed all of it. Like he threw out religion and God and everything for a while. But he recognized that he did still have a deep belief. And so we were talking one day about what his current concept of God, and this has been a while, so I'm sure it's evolved too. But I loved his context. He's like, my God right now is an angry black lesbian. It's like, this God is going to change. This God is going to do whatever it takes to make the changes in the world and in his life that he can live into more fully. And I sort of love that. Like, we can make up what the image of God is that is most supportive of our journey in that moment. If God is a comfortable, wonderful, relaxing presence that we just want to get a hug in, that's the image that we can hold. If God is more of a coach, you know, sort of like directing us and pushing us to grow in different ways, we can embody that kind of imagining of God. That concept can shift depending on where we are in our lives. And so I wanted to share with you this morning a couple of images of God that I think are really beautiful, and especially since this is Mother's Day, sort of bring out a dimension of the feminine that may be new to you, or maybe you haven't integrated into your own, just as a way to think about, okay, maybe there's an aspect of divine feminine, of woman, that I can bring into my awareness of my journey that would bless me and bless those in my life. So the first one is, and I'm just going to read her essay. This was published in Father Rohr's newsletter. He excerpts spiritual folks who might have a real interesting perspective or journey. So I'm just going to read Christina Cleveland's essay. And she's a researcher, and she was very attracted early on. She's a black woman, very attracted early on to images of Mary, of Black Mary, of sort of that embodiment, the Black Madonna. So this is sort of an excerpt from that. And she was in France, I believe, at one of the huge cathedrals. She says, as I examined the cavernous interior, I was aggressively confronted with signs forbidding visitors from trespassing beyond the crimson velvet robe surrounding the town's renowned 6th century statue of the Black Madonna, an uncommon dark-skinned version of the Virgin Mary. The ropes hung more than 40 feet from the magnificent, unapologetically black and female Madonna. My unapologetically black and female body longed to be near this Madonna, whom people of diverse races, religions, and eras have recognized as a black female image of God. Though I was raised in a black family and had spent significant time in black church spaces, the image of a white male God permeated my being. I know I'm not alone. The late black tennis star Arthur Ashe shared his childhood experience with white male God with a reporter from Sports Illustrated, who wrote, quote, every Sunday Arthur Jr. had to go to church, either First Presbyterian or Westward Baptist, where his parents had met and where he would look up at a picture of Christ with blonde hair and blue eyes and wonder if God was on his side. Like Arthur Jr., I too questioned whether God was on my side. And after years of questioning, healing, and transformation, I had traveled all the way to the heart of central France to finally come face to face with the Black Madonna. Desperate for a divine image that I related to and breathed hope into my experience as a black person and as a woman, I had to be near this likeness of God that looked like me. Seeing her from a roped-off distance wasn't enough. I long to gaze into her mysterious and kind eyes, to witness her unyielding clutch on her precious black boy, to run my fingers over her centuries-old dark wooden body and stand before a sacred image of black femininity. In that moment, she says, her concept of God dramatically changed beyond what she had studied, beyond the intellectual knowing of it. Like this was an embodiment of it that changed her journey. And she goes on to speak a little bit more. Oh, I didn't print that part. Darn it. She goes on to describe sort of in her growing up and her history of that, how just incredibly moving it was to be in a presence of a God that was very different from that concept growing up, how empowering it was, and how that has sustained her in beautiful ways since. And I believe the same is true of us, right? Most of us grew up with very similar image to the one she described, a male image of God, that male dynamic that has been so much and continues to inform all of our social structures, inform all of our political structures. Most of the wars that are happening are because of this sort of overemphasis of sort of male power, and in a way that we can start to recognize the sacredness of femininity, and and regardless of our gender, as we get in touch with those qualities that we would imagine as being feminine, I think the more balance we can bring to our living and our personal lives and into the planet and the world. So I just thought I loved that image of transformation that happens as we begin to really live into imagining of the divine that is more resonant with what's in our hearts and what our own journey is. So another image, God, if you look at the images of God that are presented biblically, they run the gamut. There are many, many, many examples, especially in the parables, where Jesus associates God with a landowner, or Jesus associates God with a mother or a father. There's one in particular that I think is helpful for us as we start to imagine what our next evolution in conscious awareness of the divine might be. And that's out of, it's the image of God as a mother hen. And this is one that Jesus introduces as he's describing sort of the tensions that are arising politically in his time. So this is from Luke chapter 31, verses 31 and 32. At that very hour, some Pharisees came and said to Jesus, "Get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you." He said to them, "Go and tell that fox for me," Herod being the fox, "go and tell that fox for me, listen, I'm casting out demons and performing cures today and tomorrow, and on the third day I finish my work. Jerusalem, Jerusalem," he sort of laments, "the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often I have desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing." So now I'm going to sort of switch gears, and Nadia Bowles-Weber is an amazingly progressive minister. I think she's Lutheran, I believe. And she takes this image of God as sort of a mother hen with wings, and I'm going to just totally steal her interpretation of this because I love it so much. But essentially, as she sort of digs into that, she's like, all right, so we imagine that God is this mother hen who's gathering her brood, these little chicks underneath her. That mother hen really doesn't have the power to save her from the fox, right? There's still danger, there's still treachery. That fox might still come and devour the chicks or devour the mother hen. So why is that an image of God that Jesus would want to be sharing with us? Why would that be a helpful image for how we're going to move through danger and how we deal with fear in our own lives? And Bowles-Weber's process sort of moves through something like this. Maybe it's not that God is going to take away the painful stuff in our lives. Maybe there's still danger in the world. Certainly there's still danger in the world. Maybe there's still stuff that we're going to endure. Maybe there's still pain that we're going to experience. The difference, she says, the quality that the mother hen brings, is that it's a different assurance so that we can encounter those dangerous places in our lives from a different consciousness. What if instead of being fearful and afraid, what if we can meet those with love, as the mother hen does? What if instead of well, I'm going to use her words here. Maybe that beautiful image of God could mean something for us. And by us, I mean we fragile, vulnerable human beings who face real danger. I can't bear to say that this scripture is a description of what behaviors and attitudes you could imitate if you want to be a good, not afraid person. But neither can I tell you that the mother hen thing means that God will protect you from Herod, or that God is going to keep bad things from happening to you. Because a mother hen cannot actually keep a determined fox from killing her chicks. So where does that leave us? If danger is real and a hen can't actually keep their chicks out of danger, then what good is this image of God as a mother hen if faith alone can't make us safe? Today I started thinking that maybe it's not safety that keeps us from being afraid, maybe it's love. Which means that a mother hen of God doesn't keep foxes from being dangerous. A mother hen of a God keeps foxes from being what determines how we experience the unbelievable, beautiful gift of being alive. God, the mother hen, gathers all her downy, feathered, vulnerable little ones under God's protective wings so that we know where we belong, because it is there that we find warmth and shelter. Faith in God does not bring you safety. The fox still exists. The danger still exists. And by that I mean danger is not optional, but fear is. Because maybe the opposite of fear isn't bravery. Maybe the opposite of fear is love. So in response to our own Herods, in response to the very real dangers of this world, we have an invitation as people of faith, which is to respond by loving. That's a huge call, because the natural human instinct and response to danger, when fear arises, the natural human response is what? Fight or flee, right? And to sort of recognize that's our human response, and to be ready to duck out of it and just ignore it or move away from it, or that's one response. Or to armor up and go to battle, that's the other response. But if we can come to it from that space of love, if fear can be answered with love, it changes the entire trajectory, the entire consciousness. I believe it changes the world if we're able to manage that sort of balance between what we know about our concept of God as the source of love and good and the joy of life, and the fear that we know the human experience is always going to sort of be a piece of the human experience, yeah? So I love that image of God as a mother hen that really, rather than protecting us, it really gives us a different way of being available to the challenges that we face as we move through our life experiences. If we can available to what's my time? Can I keep yammering? How many have seen? There's a TV show. It's in its last season right now on Netflix. Frankie and Grace. These two women who've been through a whole lot together. And I don't want to, it's a little bit of a spoiler alert. This is the last season. And they literally have been throughout this process, sort of a theme in it has been aging and how we deal with it. And they end up actually having to make a choice between sort of moving on to heaven or coming back to earth. It's a wonderful, I won't tell you any more than that. But what it demonstrates is this beautiful idea that our concept of God, our embodiment of the divine, how we show up is all about the attitude that we hold to it, right? We can approach it with fear, or we can really embrace the ways in which love is still expressing, even when bodies aren't functioning the same as they once did, even when the world around us is sort of imposing circumstances on us that we might find fearful. There are other ways in which we can remind ourselves about what is most true of this divinely human experience. And that's I'm wanting to think of a segue to, because I have a beautiful meditation that I want to share with you also. I kind of cheated on my sermon. I'm reading a lot today from other writers, but I think they're all beautiful embodiments, and especially since they're all voices of women, I figure I can get away with that on Mother's Day. So what I want to share with you as a meditation is this beautiful sort of expansive view of what motherhood means, and how all of us can hold that from a perspective that is maybe more evolved than typically we want to, I don't know, buy our mothers flowers or give our or give gifts or make the phone calls. There's like that kind of surface level of a Hallmark card Mother's Day that we sort of experience. And yet motherhood is such, as Richard Rohr sort of suggested, it's such a like elemental and foundational experience of how we all became who we are, that there's another deeper level at which we can begin to appreciate it. And so Reverend Martha Creek has developed this wonderful sort of blessing for mothers that I think moves us into that expansive space of really appreciating what mothering is and how, regardless of our gender, we all have a deep, deep connection to mothering and to mothers, yeah? So that's what I'm doing in terms of a setup. Danny and Nancy, if you could prepare us musically to be in this space of receptivity, we'll prepare for our meditation.
When I pray, I feel my heart go deeper, my heart go deeper into my God. When I pray, I feel my heart grow deeper, my heart grow deeper into my God. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray. Right here, right now, right where I am, I pray.
So I invite you to breathe into this sacred moment of opportunity connect with the God of our understanding, and to be fully present in a way that allows love to transcend anything unlike itself. Breathe in and begin by sort of acknowledging the beauty of your own spirit and life. Begin by acknowledging your oneness with the divine. And as you breathe in, affirm your divinity. Affirm the goodness of your spirit, the truth of who you really are. And as you breathe out, just release anything that's unlike that truest picture of who you are. Breathe in, know that I am one with God. Breathe out and release any disappointment, any shame, anything that's unlike love. And just for a moment, see if you can't kind of appreciate this sense of being in the flow, of knowing that, just as Jesus said, we are the light of God, each of us. Know that you are a light of God. And one of the beautiful things about being light, about light, is that it extends itself into darkness and can bless that which is around it, those who are around us. So breathe in, knowing that you are the light of God. And breathe out, knowing that it's a gift that you give. The energy of your thoughts have power. The power to bless, the power to call forth wholeness and healing, the power to see as God sees. And so join me now as we prepare to use this beautiful power of being light to extend light and appreciation to all those who have had any role in mothering, all those who have been blessed by the energy of mothering. Breathe in and send a blessing to those who gave birth this year to their very first child. We celebrate with you. Breathe in and send blessings to those who lost a child this year. And together we mourn with you. To those who are in the trenches with little ones every day and wear the badge of food stains, we appreciate you. To those who experienced loss through miscarriage, failed adoptions, or running away, we mourn with you. To those who walk the hard path of infertility, fraught with pokes, prods, tears, and disappointment, we walk with you. Forgive us when we say foolish things. We don't mean to make this harder than it is. To those who are foster moms, mentor moms, and spiritual moms, we need you. To those who have warm and close relationships with your children, we celebrate with you. To those who have disappointment, heartache, and distance with your children, we sit with you. To those who lost their mothers this year, we grieve with you. To those who experienced abuse at the hands of your own mother, we acknowledge your experience. To those who lived through driving tests, medical tests, and the overall testing of motherhood, we are better for having you in our midst. To those who are single and long to be married and mothering their own children, we mourn that life has not turned out the way you longed for it to be. To those who step-parent, we walk with you on these complex paths. To those who envisioned lavishing love on grandchildren, yet that dream is not to be, we grieve with you. To those who will have emptier nests in this upcoming year, we grieve and rejoice with you. To those who place children up for adoption, we commend you for your selflessness and remember how you hold that child in your heart. And to those who are pregnant with new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. To those who wanted kids and weren't able to, and to those who didn't want kids and had them, this Mother's Day we walk with you. We remember you. We commend you for mothering and the way it reflects the image of God by bringing forth new life, nurturing those on her path, and living with the tension of providing both freedom and a safety net. However you relate to mothering or being mothered, please give a wholehearted hug to yourself and find the hero inside of you. Grateful for all the heroes that were part of our journey, we awaken again. So once more, breathe in this beautiful expression of love for every facet of how mothering expresses in our world and in our lives. Grateful for the ways that we have been blessed by those who have mothered us, and grateful for the opportunity to give the gift of blessing through the light of God that burns brightly within each of us. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen.
No chord. Hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
So before we prepare to receive our tithes and our offerings, a couple of months ago, we began a money moment in which once a month our treasurer, someone from the board, would get up and share with you in the interest of transparency, and share with you our current finances. We're going to keep that going in terms of money moment, but on the weeks when we're not sharing the finances, I'm going to share with you just a little bit of a mini lesson around prosperity teachings. And I came across these are another another teaching of another great woman. These are from Georgiana Tree West, who was an early writer in Unity Ministry, Unity Books. And she basically came up with a revised version of the 10 Commandments, only she calls it the 10 Prosperities 10 Commandments. So I figure for the next few weeks I'll share with you each of those 10, and that'll be a little bit of a money moment for us. And the first of those is thou shalt have no other God before me, right? That's the 10th commandment. In Georgiana Tree West version, it's it says, I look only to God for my prosperity, right? There is one presence and power. There is one source to my prosperity. And I thought that especially salient this week, since the stock market has done so many crazy things and we can start to get nervous about that this is a beautiful sort of teaching of truth where we can focus in and remember that God is not about the market, God is in the markets, but our prosperity isn't sourced in the markets. It's not sourced in our investments. It's not sourced in our job or our employer. Our prosperity arises out of the source of all that is, of all that exists. So here's the conviction that Georgiana suggests we use. I look only to God for my prosperity. God has innumerable channels through which supply comes into my life. Only one of the channels of these abundance is our job or our investments, right? So as we begin to sort of center in the truth of how goodness unfolds in the world, of how growth and abundance and prosperity emerge, we recognize that it really begins with our connecting with that source of all that is, so that we can sort of follow through on the creative divine ideas that will move us into a space of being receptive to prosperity. So let's speak that one together. I look only to God for my prosperity. Together. I look only to God for my prosperity.
Time in our service that we share our love offerings. And thank you, Reverend Kurt, for your declaration. It has been my guidance, really, in terms of thinking of God giving us prosperity, because when I was at my lowest point in my life, I basically just prayed to God and trust that He will have my prosperity in mind, and He did. So I would just like to share that with you. Giving is very safe and simple here. And I find that the more you give, actually, the more you receive. And so just keep that in mind. And if you're online, there are links and instructions in the chat box that would guide you to give. But there are 3 simple ways to give. You can text the word give on your phone to 815-827-6052, or you can give online. I did mine online at our website, and that's www.unityns.org, or email a check to 3434 Central Street, Evanston, Illinois 60201. And if you can also consider giving a recurring gift so that you won't, I'm going to start doing that, because every time I forgot whether I gave last week or this week, and so the best is not worry about it, but just make it a recurring gift. And if you're in the sanctuary, you can place gifts in the bowl in the back, and so it's very easy to do, and we need your support. So now, let's bless our giving and receiving. And together, divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. Please stand as we embrace our prosperity and sing our offertory song.
Together. All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me. Let's do that through one more time. All that I need comes to me. Yes, it does. All that I need comes to me. Oh, yeah. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me.
See, thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Danny. And just remember, all you need will come from God. So I want to also at this time thank the live stream team for the hard work to make all this happen, and all of you here online and in the sanctuary, and also those of you who will be watching us on social media. Your presence have truly blessed us. So I just want to wrap up with just one announcement. We're going to have our garden chat today at 5 o'clock, and it's hosted online by Sharon Myers, and the Zoom link is on our website. So that's it. Thank you for being here, and Nancy and Danny will lead us in the peace song, and Martin will close us with a prayer for protection.
Let's stand and hold hands across the universe. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Now please join me in the prayer for protection. The words are on the screen. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. Thank you for being here. Enjoy your Sunday, and happy Mother's Day.